Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We're excited to share with you quite a bit of information regarding digital transformation. Our goal for today is to focus on less talk and more action. So we're going to be spending some time really helping you think about how to redefine digital transformation around the experience, but more importantly, around your organization and day-to-day work. So let's jump right into this. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Radi Hindawiand. I'm actually one of the senior directors of strategic services. We actually work with brands across various industries, really helping them transform their data into actionable ROI insights. I'm actually really excited to be presenting alongside Dave Weiser. Dave, do you want to jump right in?
Yep. Thanks, Roddy. Hi, everybody. Dave Weiser, privileged to be here with you guys today. And as Roddy talked about, today we're going to talk about digital transformation. In our roles together jointly, my role and Roddy's, we have the privilege of working with a lot of brands. And in that work, we help them design solutions that are going to meet a specific business objective that they're trying to focus on at any point in time. So as we all know, digital transformation has been talked about and frankly attacked in different ways by different companies with pretty differing levels of success. Actually, recently in an article I read from Forbes, they referenced a prediction that was made in 2018 that said that only 50% of the S&P would still be around in the coming decade in its current composition, and that probably digital innovation was going to be at the center of the shift. Now, I mean, history is going to tell us how accurate that prediction is, but we do know that technology has been what's caused that disruption. It's easy for us all as consumers to look at brands like Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and we know that change has impacted our own lives. It's changed how we think about interacting with a brand. It's changed what our expectations are as we interact with a company. It's not really acceptable anymore for companies to look at their customers in silos, which has traditionally been the way. We're set up operationally in silos, and so we tend to treat our customers in kind. But the evolved customer and the experiences that our customers expect from our brand has changed. They don't want to interact with a channel. They don't see our channels. What they see is they see our brand. So it's our job then to evolve not only the technology, but the way that we service, the way that those customers experience our brands, to make sure it's seamless and make sure it represents our missions and our visions as companies. Now, I think it's also rhetorical to say that we live in the age of the customer. Data backs it up. We as consumers can look at that and say that is absolutely the case. But what's interesting about it is that so many brands, even though they know this, haven't really evolved along with their customers, and the way that journey is being shaped and the experiences have been shaped to an evolved state. At InMoment, we believe very much that customer experience is at the center stage on the path that's going to lead to the future growth, future innovation of all brands across the globe, frankly. So most companies that have done this so far have pretty much just been focusing on the bits and bytes of the digital transformation world. They haven't really incorporated the experiences yet. So as we turn our focus and our attention to customer experiences, we need to look at that impact and that is the way it's having an impact on our brands. Recently, InMoment CEO Andrew Joyner talked about our core philosophy, and that's that we believe that the world, our ecosystem, needs to be centered around that evolved customer. He talked about the shift away from quizzing our customers, the surveys that we all know of yesteryear, quizzing our customers, asking generic promoting questions and satisfaction questions and quizzing them, frankly, is gone. We need to evolve as brands and leverage data that we have, break down the data silos and engage so that when we do have the opportunity to engage with our customers, when our customers are generous enough to share feedback with us, it's meaningful, and it's meaningful, relevant to the experience that they're having with our brand. So in our current economy, successes and failures, easily to say, will be determined by the efficiency that customers' experiences can be met, the efficiency with which they can deal with our brands. Now, I think we talk about this, certainly easy for me to sit up here today and talk about the easiness of doing this. When you get into it, it's a little bit more complicated. And so for today, to set the stage for today, Radi is going to walk us through three fundamental pillars as we look at digital innovation and work with brands on their digital transformations, what those fundamental pillars look like.
Absolutely, Dave. And everyone, if we can really take that line for a second, digital transformation, The piece that really stands out to us always, and Dave and I have been talking to clients for years and years about this, is that transformation part. To really get to digital transformation, as Dave said, there's no linear path. There's no one quick solution that you just need to do. And there you go, you're ready to go. You're improving efficiencies and reducing costs and building better communication. There are certain steps to help you get there. And one of the things that we've realized for the last few years is that it's actually a little bit easier than before. Still requires work, as Dave said, but there's more information and intelligence out there to get you to that level of digital transformation. So the three things that we're going to be focusing on today to get to that level of success, especially in the digital sphere, and getting that technology-based integration in play is number one, data transformation. The fact is, getting that foundation right as we go through here is so incredibly important. It's then going to help you really think about actual transformation. And I know looking at that particular second piece, you're probably thinking, well, Dave, Radi, we already knew that. Obviously, we want to action and see reaction at the same time. But there's more to it than just that, especially as it links to our third pillar here, which is around cultural transformation. So those three elements, starting from the foundation, going into that element of cultural and actual transformation, is something that you can seamlessly bring, and again, with a phased and powerful approach. Now, if you have heard some of our webinars before, seen some of our papers, you know that one mantra that we really follow here at InMoment, we actually partner with a lot of our clients and brands across industries on, is this idea of design with the end in mind. So forget research for the sake of research, forget surveys for the sake of surveys, but the bigger question is, what are you actually trying to solve with digital transformation? Is it, hey, we're trying to build a more seamless communication between our customers, our employees, and other stakeholders? Is it we're trying to reduce certain costs, improve efficiencies, really help our customers access certain elements of our business on a much more scalable, much more self-serve manner? Whatever your success or goal and KPI is, building a foundation around that is absolutely key. And I know with a lot of brands today, when we think about digital transformation, one of the ways that they're trying to achieve that is through surveys. And there's nothing wrong with that. Surveys have really given us quite a bit of information to get those actions that we need, but they are unfortunately quite limited. Mainly because if you think about your stakeholder journeys, again, your customers, your non-customers, your employees, what you're probably seeing today is that they want to interact with your brands in different ways. And one of the core elements that we have seen tremendous success with, especially in the last few years, is indirect feedback. Bringing in social data, review data, and other means of outside non-primary data in some cases can really help you get there. So when I talk about social, we're talking about things like Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, review data, Indeed and Glassdoor, Yelp, and so on and so forth. That kind of form or layer, or that kind of top layer, I should say, really has a level of intelligence that gets you to granularity and helps you understand what is working and what isn't working today. It also gives you that space to begin transforming your surveys. And I know that in some cases, you may have those long form surveys, 50, 60 questions where you're trying to get everyone's points in and trying to get strategies and actions. You can now start transforming those surveys into very targeted processes. We have certain questions, we've got surveys to help us answer those questions on a really specific manner. And as you build this foundation of bringing in indirect and direct data, in this case, our targeted surveys, you can now start to bring in things like internal data. So whether it's operational based, whether it's inferred based data like financial, whatever the case is there, you can start to quantify what those actions mean. You can even bring in some other data as well. One of the things that we're seeing more than ever before is the shift toward what we call employees as customers. We're going to be going through that here today. But getting your employees' voices as part of the data transformation is absolutely key. Now, when I say data transformation, everyone, the big piece to this is removing silos. It's bringing all that data into a single hub, into a single platform. In our case, of course, our AI-driven XI platform, and being able to see how they all link together, having the right teams and maybe your analysts to not just run typical regressions and drivers, but to basically understand the what if. What if we were to action some of this intelligence there? So I know this sounds like a pretty big foundation here, but it is a really important one to get you to that level of data transformation, of course, towards the end, as we talk about the overall digital transformation as well. But let me actually stop for a second, because I do want Dave to jump back in here. You know, we get these questions over and over, Dave, and I'd love for you to share what you basically tell our clients and brands and partners that we work with. What are some factors that we want the audience to keep in mind as they move to this element of data transformation? What are some pieces that they want to really think about to get to that aspect of crawl, walk, run, getting all that data into one hub or one platform?
Yeah, thanks, Radi. A big piece of this is being very aware of where you are as an organization. What is your data? What do you have access to? What do you have access to? What does it look like? And do you have stakeholder alignment that's going to help you to socialize and bring that data together? Now, again, sounds super easy. Sounds, you know, we hear, you know, technology can do amazing things and we're going to bring this data together in a singular place. Unfortunately, our experience has been that as we get in with brands, it's not quite that simple. Point being is data looks different. You have data that is very old. You have data that was done and built in homegrown technology systems. You have many different third-party systems. Everything's sitting in different places. You have different stakeholders with different alignment needs. And you have security, and you have risk, and you have compliance. You know, one of the biggest factors that we've seen as people look to create this singular view of their customer is internal costs. What is our internal cost now to bring together all of this data, to transform this data? And that tends to be a limiting factor for two reasons: budget being primary, and secondary to that is your IT time. IT time in most companies is one of the most guarded resources because we have so much going on. So getting time with your IT team, getting it inside of the time frame that you want to transform it in, and then inside of budget are two factors that most folks don't really pay attention to or think about. It's important that as you look to bring this together, you look to do it in a seamless way. Radi talked about our AI architecture and the way that we built our solution. It was very much actually with that concept in mind. We think about this concept of jobs to be done. What are the jobs we're trying to accomplish? Well, in this specific case, the job to be done is bringing disparate data together. So it only makes sense to utilize a technology, an AI-driven technology that can take that data as it sits. So what we're trying to do is help get ahead of that and solve that problem for our customers before they run into it on their own of needing to transform data. So we're going to help them reduce that cost and help them get past that hurdle of an IT block because they have to transform data. Instead, send it, bring it in together into an intelligent layer that can take it as it sits.
Dave, absolutely agree with that. And I think everyone, you know, if you're wondering why we're spending time on this particular slide, it's mainly because if you think about where we're going next with actual transformation, that foundational piece, and by the way, Dave and I get very nerdy about it. We even decide to wear InMoment shirts because we're so nerdy about this particular topic. But the reason why we spend some time on that data foundational space is because it makes it much more of a seamless experience to action and drive success with that particular approach. So again, I'll reiterate what I said before. Step 2 is actual transformation. And yes, you're probably wondering, well, team, well, Radi, Dave, we know that we need to actually drive actions. But the fact is, everyone, it's actually easier said than done. You've heard Dave say it as well, and I'll reiterate it. There are so many factors that come to life, especially as you start to share that intelligence across your organization in terms of what actions to take to enable that digital transformation. But there are 4 core pillars that we want you to keep in mind as you think about that level of democratization. Number 1, with whatever intelligence you're pushing out, make sure that you're focused on helping your stakeholders understand your customers, employees, non-customers, overall interactions, journeys, and feedback. So bring that data to life now that you have it in together. Talk about friction points, what's working in the journey, but also what's not working in the journey. And that's going to help you with the second pillar of how you distribute the right information, the right intelligent insights across your organization, across your different stakeholders, whether it's your executive teams, whether it's other departments, whether it's your own personal teams as well. So bringing that data to life. And once you have more individuals understand your vision, where you're trying to go, now you can start to incorporate that intelligence in key decisions. You're now really part of building and growing that transformation. And the piece that gets me personally very excited is that 4th one. You can also start to predict what's next. The big question that we always talk to our clients and get excited about is, what's the next big action? It's not about following the trend, everyone. It's about creating that next trend that your employees follow, that your competitors need to follow. You're absolutely changing the game in this particular sphere here. Now, as excited as this makes me sound, we also have another piece that we love to talk to brands about, which is be really honest about the experience here. When we work with various brands and we help them engage various intelligence and actions, let's say there's around 10 core priorities. One of the questions that we do ask is, well, team, how feasible is it to actually drive those actions? Is that something that you can do today? Do you have the budget to bring this to life in your organization? As Dave said, are there any obstacles that you foresee? You don't need to drive every single action that you gauge from this intelligence, but prioritizing the right ones, making sure that you're starting somewhere and starting to grow with it is absolutely really key there. So again, it's not just about technology pumping out various actions, but it's about that empathetic part, understanding your stakeholders, where they're trying to go, and making sure you prioritize various actions to help you get to that level of transformation. And that takes us to the next phase, everyone, which is cultural transformation. I have to tell you all, but this is one of the pieces that is so incredibly missed and something that we talk about absolutely all the time. When you think about your organization, you think about the culture that you're building today, the fact is what you're trying to do with digital transformation is change the mindset of not just the executives and stakeholders, but your own teams. You're trying to build in new technologies to build that seamless approach. And one thing you have to keep in mind is with change comes fear. Dave and I last year actually did a webinar together, and we actually talked about with change comes fear. There's a lot of changes you want to bring forward, and helping your teams understand why they're important, why that short-term pain is going to end up with long-term gain is really incredibly key here. So with a lot of brands that join us that we partner with for the first time, what we tend to realize on this maturity curve is that they're doing a great job measuring potential transformation and managing it. So measuring being some type of metric, and managing being you have some type of program that hopefully is getting you the insights there. But that's the limit to this maturity curve. One of the things that we always challenge brands to think about across the organization is how to properly democratize the data. Going back to step 2 that we just went through, how to engage the right stakeholders and how to bring ROI to life. And one of our favorite pieces, how to realize success when you're driving these actions, when you're democratizing and engaging. How do you constantly measure back to success? And that's what we've defined in the last few years is what we like to call the culture of commitment. Going above and beyond just engaged employees that hear about the idea, but bringing employees to be committed to the idea, that understand the value, that become part of your voice to bringing digital transformation to life. So a lot of information on this slide here, but what we want you to really think about is how to get your organization to that next stage. But one thing I want to do here is actually pass it over to Dave again, because there's one piece that I love that Dave talks to a lot of our clients about, which is this piece at the bottom. How do we engage stakeholders, Dave? And I'm asking you a question while putting you on the spot here, but how do we engage stakeholders, Dave, who have different priorities and objectives and initiatives and metrics? How do we bring all of those layers to life to get to cultural transformation?
Yeah, great question, Radi. And true answer is it's not easy, but you engage with them very similar to our own philosophy. We talk about design with the end in mind, first and foremost. What is that end state or what is that goal we're trying to achieve? But then meet that customer where they are. I mean, ultimately, you have different P&Ls inside of an organization that are your customers. So meet that P&L where they are. We were working with a brand last week that has 5 different siloed P&Ls. And inside of that, they have varying levels of confidence and trust in CX and CXT's customer experience transformation at large. There's some skeptics that are in there. There are some that believe very much in it. Point being is you have a lot of different people in different places. Then you have a core department that's trying to reach out to all of these 5 and bring them along the journey with an ultimate goal of meeting an objective of the organization. So just because the CEO said it doesn't mean that every single P&L owner is on board to say, yep, let's unify, let's become a unified company, because ultimately they're measured on their specific P&L, and that's ultimately their focus. Even company men and women, as we all like to believe that we're company united, we do care about what we are measured on. So where are they at? What are they being measured on? What specifically are they trying to achieve? And what is their perception? Their perception may be, do you know what, Radi, Dave, surveys, they're dead. I don't take surveys myself. I don't like to do them. You sit and ask me questions that are not even relevant to my experience. I believe oftentimes they're gamed. We lead witnesses because of the way we write questions. Point being is bad data. Okay, fair, and that's a great point. You need to understand that from the customer. You need to understand that from your internal customer, your internal stakeholder, and show them different ways, challenge their thinking a little bit, if you will, on how they can do it differently. Looking at the evolution of the customer experience space and data sourcing in general, and the way that technology, real-time technology now utilized rightly, in the correct way, excuse me, with artificial intelligence, with very, very accurate analytics, where we can just talk to a customer now. We can engage with them. We can ask them just to share with us what they think about our brand and their experience. We take away the gamification. We take away subjective scoring that we've all seen become very problematic in the survey world and the measurement world of yesteryear. We're past that. We're past measuring. We're now about improving. We're about improving and predicting and getting ahead, as Radi said, getting ahead of not being reactive, but getting ahead of what's coming next. Where do I need to be next to take this brand, all of my stakeholders, our customers, our employees to the next level?
Yeah, and Dave, I love that you brought up the proactivity portion because that comes up quite a bit. And I'll quickly leave everyone with this example here. But one of our clients that we've been working with, and I think now it's actually close to 5 years, they're a regional utilities brand, and digital transformation has been a point that they've brought up to us since 4 or 5 years ago now. And one of the core things that they brought up to us at that time was they had all this different technology and all these different surveys and all these different elements, but they had no idea how to get to digital transformation. And more than that, they had no idea what digital transformation is going to look like in their respective industry. This was actually very new to them at that time. So that piece that Dave talked about, proactivity, bringing in data from everywhere, bringing the right data, and again, in a crawl, walk, run approach, but more importantly, bringing in the entire stakeholders to the table, your customers, employees, and so on and so forth. What that had allowed them to do in particular is not just implement this digital program and transformation that they've now utilized to drastically improve efficiencies, reduce some really huge amounts of costs, but they're actually now creating the next big trends. We've seen a lot of different competitors of theirs start to match what they're doing just because they've been looking into that particular adoption engagement for years and years. So again, bringing in the right data, driving that transformation, actual actions where you bring in your engagement and stakeholders, and again, changing that cultural mindset, that's really where we see digital transformation going and what we continue to work on. And again, we're very blessed to work with the brands that we do that have seen that level of success in the last few years as well. So with that being said, everyone, I'm going to turn it over to Dave. I know we gave you a lot of information here. So Dave, let's recap and share kind of our main summaries with the team on here.
Yeah, super. Thanks, Radi. Super simple and easy now. 4 things, 4 points to summarize the day and recap. Rethink how you define a customer. Specifically, when we think of customers, generally speaking, we think of the end consumer that is purchasing our product, service, good. I'm going to challenge you to think about your brands a little bit more broadly. Think about your employees, think about stakeholders, think about divisions inside of your company, think about your partner network. Absolutely keep your end customer in mind, but treat all of these different groups as customers and act accordingly. Like I said, meet those customers where they are. Help them to have a positive experience inside of your brand, inside and outside the 4 walls of your organization. Technology, it's great. We're a technology company. We love technology, as Radi said. Technology doesn't, unfortunately, take you all the way there. There's a piece that's missing. There's been many different research groups and analysts that have talked about the disconnect of measuring alone and using technology, relying a little bit too heavily on technology, because technology delivers the information. It delivers the insights. It delivers some level of understanding. What it doesn't do is a very good job of understanding contextual history and what to do about it now, what to do about it next. It needs to have a human-led component that's going to help you take yourselves, your brands to the next level. Really, really important here. And I think this is an okay question to ask yourselves. Where are we at on our own maturity curve? What limitations do we have? And it's okay. There's different levels, and you need to understand where you're at in order to progress forward. If you think that you're an advanced organization, but you're not, you're going to step into pitfalls and hurdles that are just going to slow your program down. It's going to slow your digital transformation down, and oftentimes lose support of your stakeholders that are backing it. And then final piece, we've said it now many times, design and align with the end in mind. Now, again, simple concept, makes sense, it's logical, but as we talk to brands, as we talk to companies about current year objectives, they actually don't ever stay the same. They change every single year. The C-suite comes out with a new set of objectives that they are focusing in on for that fiscal or calendar year. So that end state tends to move a little bit. Again, back to the people component of the equation, helping you to understand and pivot as you need to as an organization to remain consistent with your measurement, with your transformation, but then making sure that transformation is impactful for where the future direction of not only your company is going, more importantly, where the market has evolved toward. So that wraps up our session for today. I'm going to speak for Radi here. Super glad that you guys all spent the time to join with us to listen to he and I geek out and nerd about technology and services and digital transformation. Be on the lookout. We're going to send out some follow-up information for you all to take a look at and read into further. We thank you for your time and look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks.